a confession to make. I am a logophile. Now you're probably thinking to yourself, what in the world is a logophile? Well, the term is derived from the Greek language. Logo means word and phile means lover. A logophile is simply a lover of words. But if it's easier for you to remember, just call me a word nerd. My fascination with words began as a child. Boy, did I love reading books. Books were not only full of words, they functioned as playmates that kept me company. With more than 20 years between me and my closest sibling, I was somewhat of an only child. Books occupied so much of my time, it's no wonder my brother nicknamed me Bookie. Bookie was a term of endearment, a name I enjoyed hearing. But some of the other names I heard as a chubby little girl were not so kind. When the kids were on the playground chanting, "Sticks and stones may break my bones, but names can never hurt me," I thought about names like Fatty and Piggy, names that really did hurt me. It was probably then I realized that words were more than letters on paper. Maybe there was more to what the kids were saying. Why did some words make me feel really good while others challenged how I felt about myself? I'm aware words possess an enormous amount of power. We use words to communicate to each other. But even alone, words have the ability to communicate to us. Just think about the word words. W-O-R-D-S. By changing the position of the S from being the last letter to being the first, a new word is created. Sword. S-W-O-R-D. And in a similar fashion, words can become a sword, a weapon, capable of damaging, destroying, or injuring. But fortunately, there is a flip side. Words also have the power to encourage, to heal, or to uplift. My interest in words continued throughout my school career. Actually, my relationship with words deepened when I entered the teaching profession. As an educator, I use words as allies when interacting with students. Sometimes you need to hear your teacher say, "Great job." And whenever I would use words like that, the faces of my students lit up, and I could see the difference that it made in the rest of their day. As a teacher then and a health coach now, I still use words to inspire positive change. Although I learned to appreciate words as a child, my focus was on the spoken word. And it wasn't until a few years ago that I realized there's another component, that words can be impactful in other ways. And I remember that day so clearly. It was the day my closest cousin called to tell me that her mom, my aunt, passed. Now, a death in any family is quite upsetting. But this was the aunt who treated me like a second daughter. This was the aunt for whom I was able to provide care at various times during her illness. She was the last of all of my aunts. After hearing the news, I couldn't focus. I wasn't able to get anything done, just thinking about the finality of it all. My mind went back to the last time I spoke with her just a few weeks earlier when I called to wish her a happy birthday. My thoughts were occupied with family and not being able to travel to be with my cousin. She was about to bury another parent in less than 18 months. The devastating news changed my day. I had to get my mind off of everything. I needed a change of scenery. I decided to get in the car and take a drive. And I stopped at a store. Now, I'm pretty disciplined when it comes to being in a store. I'm not into novelty things like t-shirts, and besides, I wasn't there to buy anything anyway. But on that day, something caught my eye that literally stopped me in my tracks. It was a t-shirt that said, "Life is tough, but so are you." And it was as if my aunt was speaking directly to me. Immediately, I thought about her character, her strength, qualities I had always admired. I thought about some of the hardships my aunt endured, and I knew that she would not want us to fall apart. In that moment, I felt a sense of relief, a sense of comfort. It was the very message I needed. That experience stayed with me in the days and weeks that followed. And I started to wonder if I could have that type of reaction to a visual message, how might others experiencing challenging situations, how might they respond? So on a whim, I began posting messages of meaningful t-shirts on my social media accounts. Tees that said, "Progress over perfection. Stay focused. You're worth it." That was the beginning of My Tea Tuesday. My Tea, MYTEE, is a play on the word mighty. And yes, I was so surprised when people started to share how these mighty messages positively impacted their lives. People commented that the t-shirts boosted their moods and lifted their spirits and encouraged them to keep going. Some people even said they look forward to these weekly posts. So I was motivated to continue posting because I wanted others to have an experience for themselves. I then realized that I was creating a movement of sorts. And it quickly moved beyond just my t-shirts to include me taking pictures of people in their t-shirts and posting them, with permission, of course. When I think about the t-shirts, I'm reminded of billboards that project messages as you drive by. When you wear a mighty message on your t-shirt, you become a walking billboard of positivity. But here's the thing. You may not be aware of the impact that your message has on someone else. And that impact may not always be immediate. Listen, I know I have shared a lot of information about words, but that's just the word nerd in me. What I'd like to do is invite you to take a few minutes to reflect. At this moment, what might a kind word mean to you? What impact might your kind word mean to someone else? Of course, I have no way of knowing the scenario you just imagined, but I have a feeling the world you visualize is a little bit brighter and a little more positive than where we are right now. I believe a word can change the world, at the very least, the worlds of those around us. And a kinder world begins with a kinder word. And the beauty of it all is that it doesn't have to take much. Just think about my t-shirts. The words can be subtle, the words can be silent. But above all, if we truly desire to experience a kinder, brighter world together, our words must be intentional.